All right. So when we are doing half drop repeats, we already did full drop repeats where we drug it to the outside and then filled in the middle space and created our own pattern that way. Half drop repeats, very similar. The difference is that instead of having it repeat, and if you can find the edges of the pattern, or the center of the pattern is usually the easier thing to find, you can be like, and 12 inches later, that repeats again, and 12 inches later, that repeats again. A half drop repeat sets everything to be more diagonal. And to start with this, if you did the diamond thing that we did last time, it's a little less obvious because we have everything already a little offset. But if you did it as just a square to start with, then you'll notice very easily that grid repeat. Half drop repeat has things repeat vertically, but then in the next column it's dropped halfway down. I drew that diagram on the board a couple times here now. If you want me to draw it again, I totally will. But the key is to start with a document where every little bit of your square here, or of the things that make up your square here, each little like object is its own either layer or layer group. So like this flower, whoops, is its own group. This flower is its own group. This flower is its own group. So is that one. All of these little like dots and things are each in their own group. This is to make it super easy to come back, grab one of these things. Like if I was just like, oh, I need another one of these flowers later, I can just tap on it. One moment here. Tap on it and hit copy layer group. And if I paste it, I can paste it into another document and have that whole layer group, where I can even adjust things like colors and whatnot going down. So instead of merging your things once they get like more complicated, don't merge them, put them in a group. That is the ideal thing to do for this pattern. Once you have your square filled up, the thing that you want to make sure of is that you don't have anything going over the edges of your square. So nothing coming over the edge. It's all sitting inside your canvas. Then you are going to come outside of this. You are going to tap your three dots and hit duplicate. It's going to create another file for you. Your file here is the one we're actually going to work in. So this one is essentially a collection of all of our saved shapes and motifs. Are we looking for a specific iPad? Which number? 6? Does anybody have 6? Or 9? Check and make sure it didn't get put back in the wrong. We'll check again in a moment. Yeah. All right, so we've duplicated our document here. So original document that has all of our elements saved in it, new document. We're going to open up the new document. Right now they're the same, so it doesn't actually matter which one you open, but you want one that is saved. Then I'm going to do some cleanup. I'm going to come through here, and anything that is hidden, I am just going to go in and delete. I don't need it. And then, I'm going to come here to where it's probably, it might not be a group like this, it might just be a background layer. You're also going to delete that. And when you delete that, you're going to see behind it, you have this little grid pattern. That is essentially your computer saying, if I printed this out, it would be clear. I'm not printing anything there. I'm not going to print white ink or whatever. So if I was printing this onto, say, a fabric that already had some texture or pattern, it would just print in these areas. Now what I'm going to do is everything else, I'm going to tap, I'm going to hit select multiple, and I'm literally going to tap everything. And group it. And then I am going to merge layers and group. Now it is all one thing. However, because I don't have things in the corners, I need to create that fake layer that ends up being hidden but tells it to select all the way to the corners. The way I do that is I create a new layer, I hit my paint, I tap it, it doesn't matter whether you do pixel or vector, and then I'm going to hide it and drop it in here. So what I have in here is all of my shapes, all of my shapes and a hidden fill layer. I'm going to go back out now. Now I need, what do I need? I need 3 of these. And I'm going to duplicate, duplicate. One of these I'm going to drag up into the corner and use those snapping grid lines to get it not centered, but centered off to the corner. I'm going to do my second one. I'm going to drag across and make sure it hits my snapping grid lines. My third one, this is where it's different. I'm going to just drag straight across and make sure it hits the center there. This leaves all of this space here in the middle. I'm going to hit done, and it's going to say, hey, anything outside the bounds of the canvas are going to be cropped. That's fine. I'm going to hit continue. I have room here through here. If I just left it, it would kind of look like I had a empty semi-box, semi-circle-ish shape, and there would be all of this extra room. I don't necessarily want that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag these things all into a group just to get them out of my way. And then I'm going to hit new layer. On this new layer, I can go back to my previous document. Sometimes this can take a while. This is also why we reduced it to be like a couple layers instead of 9 bajillion. Go back to our original. Takes a little bit. And let's say I was like, I want one of these flowers. I can copy the layer group, come in back into this document, on this new layer, hit paste, and hit paste layer group. It's going to leave a blank layer in here. I can delete that later. And then I can, you know, manipulate this, change its size, do whatever I want. Let's say I was like, oh, I wish I had a third color in here that would make this a little bit less repeaty, matchy. I can hit done. I can go to my little color hue brightness changer, hit clip, hit hue saturation, and come and adjust my color here. So let's say I just wanted a little deeper and maybe a little less saturated. So it's like a more of a brick red. And then I can, oops. So this little arrow means it's only affecting this layer. If I want to permanently affect that layer, I can just select multiple, select them both, and group them, and then merge them so that it's like that permanently. I really only tend to go back and do that kind of stuff if I am, I'm going to go back and undo it like this. If my document is getting full of layers and it's taking forever to open, that's when I simplify. Okay, so I have that in there. Let's just duplicate this guy again and pull here. See, it's still orange. So this is what's called a non-destructive process, which means it doesn't actually change any of my information in this layer. It just gives it a new set of commands. It's pretty neat. I'm gonna make that even smaller, and let's flip-flop it this way. Nah, I liked it better that way. And let's duplicate that again. Duplicate, transform. Let's flop it upside down. Bring it up here, maybe like that. And then I'm going to come back to this layer, and I have these like dots and lines that I've made to just kind of fill space previously. The more like random and texture that you add into these types of patterns, the less it's easy to see where your lines are. And so I'm just going to come back into this empty layer. I'm going to grab my brush, and I'm going to just use my brush to fill in some more dots in some places. I could get picky about it and be having each of these little sections in another layer. I don't think I'm going to worry about it right now. And let's actually do one more layer and do a set of like these cooler tone dots. And then one thing I noticed is I didn't quite get this green color matched, so I think I want to repeat it somewhere too. So let's get that green color matched. I was trying to mess with it with like that hue selector thing. I should have just used the paint bucket tool or redrawn some. And fill in some areas. Once again, just don't go over the edge and you will be fine. I want to make these like my back layer. That way they're not so standout-ish. Okay. Now that I have this full, I am once again going to go back out of this document. I am once again going to duplicate the document. Why? Well, because now I have a whole nother set of things I've drawn in that if I want to go duplicate or mess with, it's easier to do while they're not collapsed. This is the one that I'm going to collapse everything in. I'm going to come here, tap, select multiple, select everything, make into a layer, and merge layers in group. Only problem is now I don't have that hidden layer anymore. So I'm going to hit Paint Tool, New Layer, Pixel, Hide, and group them. Now I have this group. I need 5 of these to make my final repeat. Right now I have a repeating pattern, but I want to see what it's actually going to look like. I need to stop hitting that with my thumb. I'm going to duplicate until I have 5. All right, so we are going to go down to the corner with each of these. And then we have one left that right now I'm just going to bring to that corner, and then I'm going to immediately slide to the center so that it is centered. Then I need to find the one above it, and this will help if I zoom in. I'm going to slide this up until I get my pattern to line up right here. And the more zoomed in I am on like a specific segment where I have a pattern going across it, the easier it is to see if that's accurate. And then I can go back out to that one. And if you're not hitting done in between each of these, it doesn't cut it off right away. It doesn't do any of that cutting until you hit done. So don't hit done, just jump around between your layers and pull this down. Oh, that's not great. Okay, there we go. And push that back up and hit done. Continue. Make sure that there's not like a big gap or line at any of these spots. Sometimes it will lie to you and be like, there's a line there, but if you zoom in, it disappears. That just means the program was a liar, not your eyes. And you can zoom back out. Now we can click these, select multiple, select everything, group, you know the old song and dance by now, merge layers in group. The only thing I don't have now is a background color. If you wanted your fabric to print with a background color, such as if you were ordering this on Spoonflower or something like that, you weren't just ordering these individual decals, you actually wanted a color back there besides like probably the default white of the fabric, you would have to specify that. How we do that is we get a layer, we drag it down to the bottom, and we hit fill, pixel is fine, and then this is really close to some of what I already have in here. So I'm actually going to use my clip and brightness and contrast. Oh, I didn't want brightness and contrast, I wanted hue. Delete that, select, clip, hue, saturation, there we go. And then I can lower the saturation, make it lighter, so that like I still have the same hue family, but I've made it a nice neutral for the background. And now you can see where there's this large flower. Instead of repeating again right here, it repeats halfway dropped. That's why it's called a half drop pattern. And now I have this pattern that could be printed on anything and be like a cool floral extravaganza party. This reminds me of like marigolds for Dia de los Muertos, or just kind of like fall colors and flowers in general. So notice the more kind of randomly I placed things, still trying to keep shapes relating to each other, so not trying to put a shape that curves the same right next to the other shape. And playing around with that helps tremendously. Any questions before we get into making sure everybody's iPad and stuff is working? If your iPad tries to update and you can say no for now, because we had, I know it forced updated you. We've had a couple, well, I think just one person so far, hopefully, where it forced updated, and apparently this program wants you to log in with your email. It was probably it was just left signed in. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know who had that iPad last, whose account it could have been. No, it would have been fall. So, because we don't really use these for either of the winter courses I teach. So unfortunately, we lost some work. Yeah. That's all right. Yeah. So